We've adjusted the lance in Monster Hunter Wilds so that it's still the sort of the powerful wall that it needs to be a lance, but you might notice as I'm playing that I've got a little bit more movability and a little bit more flexibility in my options.
Every lance main across the globe is simultaneously erected due to that statement. Flexibility. This is a key component I've realized they're honing in Wilds. Coming from the gun lance to the longsword, they want you to have more fluid ways of connecting move to move. And in this case, we have the lance. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Moveset here, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going over the lance sheet movement set. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Due to the limited options lance had, flexibility mainly meant countering in between attacks to continue the assault. But with the added option and possible routes you can take, lance will feel even stronger in its reactive gameplay. Some of my favourite moments in combat in any game is figuring out how many hits I can get in before the boss starts swinging again and I need to retreat. I'm envisioning this to be even more the case when it comes to lance now, as I have different options to move in on an enemy. Now when it comes to mobility, this isn't exactly new. In GU, World and Rise respectively, we had new movement options being added into the kit, but they weren't always the most fluid when moving from one move to the other. Now with the addition for a more flexible kit, will make the weapon feel much more well-rounded, definitely when you want to be more aggressive. Let's have a look at the movement set of the lance and see what we can get from all of this. We'll start with the basic actions. As usual, we have mid and high thrust being able to hit 3 times. Mid thrust deals the same damage for the first 2 strikes, but on the third deals a higher amount of damage. High thrust deals the higher damage all the way through, meaning for damage is the preferred method. From the footage, you can see it still applies, as when it hits the weak spot with the mid thrust it hits 13, and high thrust on a stronger part it still hits 13, showing that even high hit on a worse hit zone, it still did the damage to match. I've always been interested in why high does more damage. I've always assumed it's due to the range of the horizontal attack, which will make it easier to hit monsters at a distance if you used medium. Well, high is angled, so you have to be a bit closer to the monster. Even though it's a bit weird and an interesting mechanic, it's stuck with the lance since I've picked up the game in try, so it is what it is. Now going from there, you can perform a new damaging move, triple thrust. By pressing the same button again, in this case triangle for mid, you will use 3 strike attack that can quickly cancel into a guard. Apart from a way to throw out more hits, this is great for 2 reasons. One, status and element builds, and the second is that you can cancel out into a guard. But first, let's tackle status and elemental builds. Due to the way status and element works, weapons that hit faster benefit more from the damage that it applies. This would be a great way for lance to move into more status and elemental builds, which is awesome. Status itself is one of my favourite for lances. Status does need a rebalance though, a video I'd like to do in the future, possibly next week, so tune in for that. Now when it comes to the guard cancelling, we need to go back into the past. The triple thrust move isn't actually new, it actually comes from GU. Many styles that weren't striker had a strike at the end of the thrust combo, replacing mid and high 3 with a stronger but slower motor hit. Many lance mains, including myself, didn't like how it worked, as it went against a lot of the benefits of the lance weapon itself. Mainly the ability to counter while on the offensive. It was way too laggy, thus it made it harder to counter during your attacks. But with this version, it eliminates that, as now we are able to cancel out of the animation and go into defensive options, which is great. This does raise a gaming philosophy problem for the game though. In Wilds, it seems like committing to a move isn't as important as it was before. For example, dual blades, which is now able to cancel out of the long demon dance, or longsword and the helm splitter. The game wants you to have more flexibility and take back wrong inputs. I personally don't vibe with that. If I press a button, I feel like I should commit to it. It's one of the core reasons I feel Monster Hunter difficulty works the way it does, definitely in the older games. But all I can do for now is wait to see how Capcom handles difficulty in this game, and if cancelling our strongest move makes a big impact or not. But for now, we'll leave it at that. I've stated my opinion and left it in Capcom's hands to prove me right or wrong. I feel like that's a healthy way to deal with discourse. Moving on from that, we have the leap and thrust, an attack we've seen in recent history, in World and in Rise. As usual, it allows you to reposition yourself, being able to use it from even an attack. Now, it seemed like it hit twice in this moment, but that could be because of the weak spot. It's hard for me to tell currently. So it doesn't seem as powerful as it was in Sunbreak, where it hit 3 times, which made the lance pretty damn strong. Nevertheless, it's a great move to move into other positions when you need to gain some distance. Next, we have the wide sweep, and it seems like it's changed a bit here. Normally the sweep is a horizontal move, but in the footage we've seen so far, it seems like it can hit vertically, which is quite interesting. I wonder if this is to help hit high reaching places, like a monster's tail for example. The move can be mixed into any of the frost combos, but how useful will it be? I'm not really sure yet. This move has always kind of been a filler move for the weapon. In Rise Break, they gave it ability to charge attacks, which was a cool idea, although the damage and time it took to use the attack wasn't really worth it, and it didn't really out DPS other methods for the weapon. I was hoping they'd replace the move with something else more interesting, but I suppose we have to see how useful it's going to be in the actual game this time round. One other thing I noticed about the footage, you can hit multiple wounds at the same time. Usually in Monster Hunter, the first contact of an attack will be the value it takes. But when it comes to wounds, as you've seen in this clip here, it seems like the attack hits all of the wounds available. But we can get into this move later. Now, why is this important for wide sweep? Well, with the sweep, it is possible to hit multiple wounds at the same time, which might be interesting and increase your overall damage. Now, if you can do that, that would be awesome. It would actually give a place for the wide attack just to hit multiple wounds simultaneously. Now, let's move into the dash attack, another unique action that the lance has. Now, I always thought in 5th gen, the amount of times the attack hit was less than it used to hit in older games, and this lowered its effectiveness with status and elemental. But in the wilds, it seems like the hit ratio is actually increased, which is awesome to see. But when the game's out, we can do a bit of a deeper analysis. And as usual, you can turn around while charging, do an attack while you turn around, and you also have the Final Frost, which is one of the most hardest hitting moves for the lance. And from the weapon overview, it actually seemed like it can move from a counter straight into a dash. Going back to the thing I was talking about when it came to flexibility and how the weapon has more ways to link from one move to the other. Alright, now we finished with the basic mechanics, so let's now go into the guard. One of the things I've added to all weapons of a shield is the perfect parry. Lance had this before, in different forms. Back in GU we had the Adept Guard, which allowed you to follow up with a cross sweep attack. And that attack also made it into Rise, which was awesome for the weapon's ability to actually guard and deal damage right after. Yet at least from what we've seen here, this isn't an option anymore in Wilds. Instead, it seems like it's followed by a Shield Bash, which will be great for stun damage on the head, but I doubt it would be doing anywhere enough damage compared to the sweep. Let's hope it's still something in the game though, because it was a great move. Other options from the guard is the guard dash, allowing you to move forward while blocking, a nice defensive way to make ground. Shield attack, which is something we basically had forever, another way to add stun damage. And lastly again, we got the leaping thrust for a more offensive way to gain ground. And we also still have the power guard, which is introduced in World, still here for a stronger guarding option. One problem people notice though, is the normal counter isn't anywhere on the sheet, and neither on the game's moves when the user is just moving around. We've seen the counter from a combo, but it seems possibly you can't just use it outside of attacking, which would honestly be a shame if that's the case. Waiting for a monster to come to you and counting at the last second was an amazing thing, and I always love to do it. Sometimes you want to start out with a counter and not a guard, so let's hope it still exists, but yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see on that one too. Next, we have the Returning Frost, which is a pretty cool fast hit you can do after guarding successfully. It's a fast and cheeky way to get in some more damage, and it kind of adds to that dance that you see in Monster Hunter in the combat overall. We got Payback Frost, but I honestly couldn't see it anywhere being used, so I'm not too sure what move this is. If anyone down below knows what it is and has seen some footage of Payback Frost, this should be great because I've looked around a bit and I still couldn't find it anywhere. Now I do have an assumption that it's one of the moves that we saw in the overview, one of the ones where he counters and then strikes with his weapon. It didn't show up anywhere in the footage at the top right of the screen to show what action they were using in any of the Lance clips. So for now, this is what I'm suggesting. But lastly, let's move into the Focus Victory Thrust, which is the Lance's Focus Strike, hitting the monster with the shield and then striking at the wound with a thrust, dealing quite a lot of damage. As stated before, it seems like the Victory Thrust hits multiple times. We can assume that this was due to the multiple wounds the monster had. It seems Focus Strikes can be used anytime they want, which could be a bit spammy, but ultimately we have to see when we play the games for ourselves and how we feel about it. I suppose lastly, it's not on the weapon sheet, but the Mountain Finisher, which was pretty cool. It's pretty much the same move in Rise Sunbreak, where you hit up and hit down, which was a kind of good move, but it was hard to hit, and sometimes it just did no damage if you didn't use it on the correct monster. Some monsters it definitely was useful, but that doesn't matter because in this game it's going to be based on just a scripted move, so it's going to deal with all the opportunities for you. You don't have to worry about anything else. So yeah, it looks cool, it looks amazing, so yeah, I'm going to be excited to use it. Well guys, that's all I got for you today. We went quite in depth with Lance, we went through the sheet, we went through the footage. Stay tuned for more videos. We're coming up later in the week. Also, if you want to see more Lance footage and my reaction to it live when it first was shown, have a look here on the top right and in the top left for more Lance videos. But yeah, that's it for me today guys. I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.